Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt on KLUP 930 AM The Answer. Podcasts everywhere, YouTube, Facebook, and talklawradio.com. If you're wondering about the law in some aspect in your life, you can always search for archived episodes of Talk Law Radio on talklawradio.com. You can also go to that website if you're interested in sponsoring the show, or if you just have a question. There's a link for each one of those questions on that site there, talklawradio.com. Today I'm talking with my dad, Dr. Terry Marquardt, about his music career. And if you want to know about his beginnings in music from when he was 5 years old, tune in on Sunday, next Sunday, to hear that episode at 4:30 in the afternoon, or search for it on Apple Podcasts or Podcasts everywhere. And we'll continue our conversation now with your high school experience, not playing the saxophone. What else did you play?
Well, before the commercial break, you asked me about my high school jazz band, and I want to give one emphasis. One of the greatest mentors that I had was not a formal band director, but I had the opportunity in my high school to play in that jazz band with Karen Lafferty. She's an international music star. She's a songwriter. She's a gospel writer and performer. And so I had the opportunity to, when she was in high school, she was a year ahead of me, and I played in the jazz band with her. So I learned a lot of music from her, and it was a great experience. And she went on to have a great career. You may be familiar with one of the songs that she wrote. It's in a lot of church hymnals. It's "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven."
Oh, wow.
And all these things will be added on to you.
I do remember that song.
Yeah, and she wrote that and made it an international hit.
Okay.
So we went on. You were asking me about not the saxophone, but maybe the guitar?
Right.
Well, when I was in like 8th or 9th grade, I went to a Lutheran Walther League camp, which is the youth camp, and it was in the mountains. And so for a week, we did lots of things. We had a lot of fun. We did hiking. We played softball, but we also had Bible lessons and group study. And there were a lot of big kids from like El Paso that came to the mountains for this Walther League camp. And at that time, folk music was coming on the scene. There was Peter, Paul, and Mary, other folk groups, Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley, lots of folk songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so the big kids, they brought their guitars and hung around the bunk beds, and we all sang folk songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that, I knew that I wanted to learn the guitar because all the cool kids had guitars and could sing folk songs. So I started learning some of the chords while we were there at the camp. And then when the camp was over, I got back to my hometown and was looking for a music teacher to learn guitar. And I went to this person that kind of out of his home. His garage was his studio, and in the garage there were all these guitars hanging up. You could buy guitars from him. You could take guitar lessons from him, and I did. And that led into the folk singing era. Also ushered in the garage band type of concept. The Beatles were just becoming popular. Pop music was transitioning from musical instruments like saxophones and trumpets to guitars and drums. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to be a part of that scene. And so there were a couple of groups in my high school that kind of started up. And there was this one band that had lost their bass guitar player, and they asked if I would like to play bass for them.
What was the name of the band?
The Poor Boys. And it was really, the reason we came up with that name is because at that time there was a poor boy material that was kind of like a corduroy.
Oh.
And so we wore corduroy pants and corduroy hats, and we were called the Poor Boys.
That's good.
And so in that band, we played regularly at the teen center after football games on Saturday nights. We also there were other groups, area groups that came in and played at the teen center different nights too. But we had our opportunities. That group also, when I was in high school, we played for the high school homecoming dance. One of the guys in the band was one of the guitar players. He was a college student, and so he got us a job playing for the Eastern New Mexico University homecoming dance.
Oh, wow.
And so we had to load up a trailer and a station wagon and travel to the university to perform for their homecoming dance.
Yeah.
And it was in the winter, and we barely made it, barely made it over the summit there in the mountains. The car was freezing up, the heater didn't work, and we were, it was really a challenge because we were still high school kids.
Right.
And we were learning all of the challenges of life and
Overcoming
travel.
adversity.
Exactly. And so we got there, and an interesting story about the homecoming dance is Eastern New Mexico, that's almost Texas, you know. And so
Portales.
Right, Portales, and they wanted some waltzes. They wanted some slow music, not just rock and roll. And so we didn't have any waltzes. And so, but my buddy Bob Abernathy, he knew a Christmas song that was a waltz, was in 3/4 time.
Okay.
And so that he played that, and they were happy. They got to waltz, they got to hold their girl in their arms, and it was that was how we handled that challenge.
Great. That's awesome. Okay, so after graduating high school, you continued your music career in college.
Yeah, I went to the University of New Mexico, and I was enrolled in the pre-med program. But to me, music, band was a part of the school experience. And I had a friend, Chuck Bowden. He played in the band, but he was also a baseball player. I played baseball with him, and he was on scholarship at New Mexico State to play baseball there. And so his mother was explaining to me that, there comes a time when you don't play in the band anymore. And Chuck went on and played baseball. Well, I was in the band, and so I played in the University Symphonic Band, and I tried out for the jazz band. I was the only freshman to make the jazz band, and again, like I was telling you in the other segment, I played in the marching band, I played in the symphonic band, so I could play in the jazz band. That was what I really loved and really excited me. And so when I was at the university, they put together a traveling troupe to recruit students for the University of New Mexico. And in this troupe, there was the UNM dancers. There was a duo of a rock group. They did a lot of Righteous Brothers stuff, Ricky Nelson kind of things, Elvis Presley. And then there was also a folk singing group as we talked about that. Folk songs were big then too. And so this troupe went on a tour. They said, go to this store. They're going to fit you for a sport coat and some slacks, and this is going to be our traveling uniform. We traveled in a Greyhound bus, and we went on a tour of different venues, some high schools, and New Mexico Military Institute. We went to El Paso. We also, when we were overnight in El Paso, there was a group of us that went to Juarez for a little rest and relaxation. And a couple of the girls from three girls from the dance troupe, the rock duo, the folk singing trio, and me, we went across the border. And so we were going to some of the clubs over there in Juarez, and we actually somehow we ended up on the stage and did part of our program for the patrons of this nightclub.
Wow!
And it was fun, and we had a great time. And so that was my University of New Mexico jazz band experience.
Okay, stay tuned. When we come back, we'll be talking about Dr. Marquardt's professional music career. Stay tuned.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law Radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.